Hi, I'm Thaddeus Wacknamara, and until recently, I was at a crossroads. So today, we're going to be talking about parallel dimensions, the multiverse, and multiple worlds theory. A little bit about how they interact with each other and differ from one another. But Thad, I hear you say, as an intelligent adult who enjoys intelligent cartoons such as Rick and Morty, and who is also a connoisseur of the Marvel films, including the Spider-Verse films, I believe that I'm well informed on the multiverse, and I say, fuck you. As a true connoisseur of multiverse and parallel universe related TV and movies, my mind goes to Frasier, Malcolm in the Middle, Community, Scrubs, and the 1998 film Sliding Doors, starring Gwyneth Paltrow. On that note, when you think about it, there's a universe not too far away from ours where Gwyneth Paltrow starred as Hela in a Thor movie, and Cate Blanchett is selling vagina-scented candles that we could all enjoy. But that sort of TV and film multiverse is pretty tight, and I think it's best typified with the following example. Hi, I'm Thaddeus Wacknamara, and until recently, I was in recovery. Until recently, I was in a coma. Until recently, I was a software developer. Until recently, I was working with cement. Until recently, I was a stockist for your local cash converters. Until recently, I was hiding in your bushes. Until recently, I was crippled by drugs and alcohol. Until recently, I was your high school crush. Until recently, I was a motorcycle enthusiast. Until recently, I was an impromptu organ donor. Until recently, I worked nearby your house, watching. Until recently, I was a semi-professional board game explainer. Until recently, I was an adult movie star. Until recently, I was your dad. Let's try that again. So, in two possible universes, this little guy comes out as a rooster, and with just one change of one chromosome, this little bird comes out as a hen, and their life paths are very different. So that typifies the multiverse as we're often used to it, where a change in the universe at some decision made or some chance occurring has led to a divergence which is familiar but very different from our own. So by now I think we get the idea of multiverse as it's popularized, but why is that different to multiple world theory? Well, multiple world theory has a couple of different angles to it, a couple of interpretations to it, but mostly you need to know about the saddest cat in the world. So here's that really sad cat and some really shitty lighting. What you'll notice is that at the top there are death beams that are shooting at the cat, or not. You never know. It could be going either way at this point in time, and that's the real thing. While the box is closed, the cat may or may not have been shot by death beams coming from something. In the meantime, we have X. X is the possibility that the cat is either very alive or very fucked. In that particular frame, at that moment in time, X is both A and B. The cat is both fucked and not fucked. That is superposition in a nutshell. Kitty being both very happy and very sad. And to save you from the pain there, I may make a video about Schrodinger's cat at a later stage, or maybe I won't. At any rate, I'm not going to punish you with it. There are plenty of videos out there. But long and short is that's what we know as superposition. It is something you're just going to have to trust me on. The cat's both fucked and unfucked at the same time. Go with it. Now, that's where things start getting interesting. Again. And at this point, it occurs to me that I really don't know that much about this, and I'm probably going to be lying. So, for those hardcore physicists who are disagreeing with me, I'm going to call cubism and inject my own knowledges and beliefs about the system as the agent into this particular problem. Okay, so we have a cat in a box and we don't really want to open it. Let's just put it aside for the minute and not look. Because now I'm going to ask you to do something that's pretty tricky. I need you to get into the shoes of a photon. Now, that's a single particle of light. You don't need to worry about it. To get into its shoes, you have to realize that they're dumb. So it's been sitting around. You've been sitting around all afternoon. You've had 22 drinks and you're in your underwear. Now, suddenly, your mate has called up and said, I need you around here now. We've got something going on that you can't miss out on. So, you drag yourself out and you jump into your 2005 Honda Accord and you decide to go from point A, your house, to point B, your mate's house. So obviously, you do exactly what every photon would do and you drive there in a straight line. But also, you don't. You see, the thing about you, the photon, and not someone who's been drinking rum on your couch all afternoon and your wife runs, is that you not only take the direct line from point A to point B, but you in fact take every pathway from point A to point B you possibly can. And it's not until you're observed that your location, position amongst all of this can actually be measured. Kind of like your mate calling up and going, it's been 2.5 hours, where are you? You look at your GPS and it turns out that you're 14 suburbs over and doing circle work in a Bunnings car park. Again. And I will take this moment to apologise because there's no way that you'd be doing decent circle work in a Bunnings car park in a 2005 Honda anyway. Get something with a rear-wheel drive. But we're meant to be talking about multiple worlds. At 30 kilometers an hour doing very small circles in a Bunnings car park, how is that multiple? Well, in a different world, when your friend called, you were actually standing at a 7-Eleven counter, annoying the absolute ever-living shit out of the poor bastard working night shift while eating a traveller pie and trying to work out how to get the safety cap off of a Powerade bottle. Again. But this leads to an important question which has two schools of thought around it. Had you been able to leave your house and drive the 6 kilometers over that 4.5 hours in order to make it to your friend's house, if he had not have called you, because he's such a shit of a guy, would a multiple world have existed? In one example, you have left your home, you've gone by 7-Eleven, you've bought yourself a traveller pie, you've annoyed the poor bastard who doesn't get paid enough anyway, and eventually arrived at his front door, a drooling mass. But Photon you also decided to drive all the way out into the middle of nowhere and do little tiny circles in your Honda in a Bunnings car park. But given that neither of those were interrupted, never measured, was there an event? The true adherents to multiple world theory would say that the event occurred at the point of all of those different pathways being met. So not only did you go to Bunnings, not only did you go to 7-Eleven, you also got pulled over and DUI'd along the way, and you also accidentally took a left turn and ended up down the corner near the tip where the cat house is and ended up spending $4,000 on... Never mind. But the problem we have is that the other school of thought says because your superposition was never observed and measured, it's not until you looked at your GPS after you arrived at his house and determined what pathway you had already taken that that particular superposition was resolved. Look, it's something to do with Copenhagen. I don't know, man. The Danish are weird. At this point, I'd really like to insert a joke about Copenhagen because of the whole Copenhagen interpretation thing, but A, it doesn't matter, and B, it's really hard to make fun of Copenhagen. It looks really nice, actually. And I probably could say something about all the cyclists, but last time I pointed out that they don't pay road tax, they came after me like bees. Angry bees. Plus, I don't indicate when I'm crossing bike lanes. Come to think of it, you're a photon. You're definitely not going to be a drooling mass. Taking it back to the cat in the box, there is an event when you open the box, which is a clear and obvious event. The cat's either very warm or really far too warm. The more subtle event that could have happened, and the strict adherents of multiple world theory agree on, is that there is a quantum event when the death ray does or doesn't choose to shoot it in the cat. A very different type of parallel universe was hypothesized in the M theory by Stephen Hawking, who was a very intelligent scientist and a very shit long jumper. What he was proposing was that there were potential universes that didn't succeed because of some fundamental variable, such as the speed of light or another one of the constants, not being as it is in our universe. This does my head in 10 times over, and I just wanted to call it out because, I like to cry. After all this, you might ask, with all of these universes popping into existence every time an event happens that can be measured either way, regardless of which school of thought you're lending the time to, how does this matter? How does it impact? What does it mean? And not a lot. There's no way currently proposed to measure this that has been proven or has any real hope at this moment in time. There's a couple of people out there using ridiculously expensive infrastructure, and they're very bright people, don't get me wrong. But one of them is trying to measure the imprint of another universe on the background cosmic radiation of ours, like an arse print on a couch that you found on the side of the road. There's some others who are sitting there and trying to look at the gravitational impacts of another universe on ours. But given that we're only just able to identify when two very, very, very big things collide and merge in our own universe, it's not very far down the road. There's a little bit of stuff going on at CERN which may or may not have an impact on it, but realistically speaking, if I had a particle accelerator of that size and power, I'd be pointing it at beer cans rather than... Well, this is probably why I don't have access to it. So have you ever wondered what would happen if you put a mouse or an egg in there? Go have a look around on YouTube. There are some people who have already done that particular thought experiment. And there was the guy who shot himself in the chest with microwaves and melted a chocolate bar. Because science. All good stuff. Complete tangent there. But long and short is that there is not going to be a Gwen Stacy coming through from a different multiverse to ballet slipper up our local Miles Morales anytime soon. For those of you who get the Spider-Man reference, it was probably reasonable that most of you have, given that he's the most popular superhero ever. I'd just take a moment here to stop and wonder whether or not my first foray into YouTube should have been something as complicated as multiple worlds or something as gory as shooting cats with radioactive death beams. And my answer is, again, fuck you. But if you have made it this far and you're not already been in the comments section telling me exactly how much I have ruined your favourite topic of knowledge, feel free to leave a comment telling me what your universe's me was previously doing, probably something nefarious. Or alternatively, do tell me what you think we can do about making roosters' lives better by catching them in the egg sooner so that they don't have to go through what we all know that they go through. It's terrible. But I have some additional stuff coming up. This one I consider a bit of a talky video, and look, I'm learning along the way. I've got some makey videos coming up where I build some stuff. I'm particularly a big fan of the fact that I received a package with a whole bunch of technology in it the other day. It wasn't for me, but hey, we're going to do an opening and I'm going to learn about that technology, and I promise you that I will pretend that I didn't open it already, despite the fact that it was sent to very much the wrong address. It's going to be a good time, and we're going to keep it light. Take it easy. I'm Thaddeus Wacknamara, and I'm whacking odd.